Hello Habs Nation. In today's video, we'll talk about the negotiation of two Habs players who lost space in the team. Check if you are subscribed here on the channel so you don't miss any Habs updates that we publish here on the channel. The Montreal Canadiens were the third team, in a trade involving Erik Karlsson being moved from the San Jose Sharks to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins needed them to help clear cap space. In doing so, the Canadiens freed themselves of Mike Hoffman's contract and acquired both defensive and goaltending assets in Jeff Petry and Casey DeSmith. Petry and DeSmith can now either remain in Montreal and help the team, be moved before the season starts, or at the trade deadline and still support the team. Montreal's general manager, GM, Kent Hughes definitely still has some moves to make. After acquiring Petry, the Canadiens find themselves with a bit of a logjam on defense. They still have their four young players in Caden Goal, Arbor Shakaj, Jordan Harris, and Justin Barron, along with veterans Mike Matheson, David Savard, and Chris Weidman. They also have Jonathan Kovacevic, which gives them 9 defensemen for 7 spots. It could be easy to put 2 of the younger players in the American Hockey League, AHL, to play with the Laval Rocket, but all 4 players had strong rookie seasons playing in the NHL. A demotion to the AHL could be seen as a step backward. Weidman is easily the odd man out, and will probably be waived to Laval, and with his low annual average value, AAV, another team could pick him off waivers. Another option is to trade an older defenseman and keep the young players. Both waiving Weidman and trading a player puts the Habs at 7 defensemen. Petry would be the best option if the Canadiens decide to move defensemen. When he was in Montreal last, his wife was unhappy with the COVID regulations of Quebec, and they chose to live in the United States. Being separated from his family was hard on Petry, and he let management know. Hughes eventually traded Petry in the offseason of 2022 for what he thought was the best package for him, getting Matheson in return from the Penguins. With all this in mind, the likelihood of Petry returning to Montreal is pretty low, and with Pittsburgh taking 25% in the return trade for Petry, it makes his AVV $4.6 million instead of over $6 million. The Habs could also retain 50% of the remaining AVV, and now you have a top for defenseman on the market at a team-friendly $2.4 million AVV. Petry would be the most accessible player to move and not lose young assets. With the acquisition of DeSmith, the Canadiens now find themselves with 4 goalies that could play with the team this season. Jake Allen and Sam Montembeault have held down the fort the past 2 seasons and have the inside track. On the other hand, Caden Primo still has work to prove he's NHL ready and will likely play in Laval if he can clear waivers. DeSmith is a competent backup in the NHL, and he sports a .91 to save percentage, SV%, with 58 wins in 134 games, 115 starts. DeSmith brings 2 things to the table: a quality backup for a cheap AAV of $1.8 million and waiver protection for Primo, who is no longer non-waiver eligible and can potentially be lost for nothing. He also will help push Montembeault and Allen for the backup role, and force Hughes' hand into dealing one of his goaltenders. It could be argued that the Canadiens could trade Allen and his $3.80 AAV and go with a tandem of Montembeault and DeSmith. Montreal is currently $5.1 million over the cap, and would like to avoid using Carey Price's long-term injury reserve, LTIR, as much as possible. Ridding themselves of Allen's contract would go a long way in reaching that goal. However, moving him without losing some assets would be complex. We all know that Hughes does not like to use support to rid himself of contracts, and unless he can pull off another Hoffman move, I don't see him moving Allen without a sweetener. Montembeault should be pretty safe as well. He is on the last year of his $1 million AAV contract, and unless the Habs feel he's not their goalie of the future, he will be staying in Montreal. That leaves DeSmith and his 1-year $1.80 AAV contract as the most likely goaltender to be moved. His contract is very team-friendly for a goalie with above league average numbers. If you believe that the Habs reached the playoffs, strongly like this video. To stay updated, click now on the video that is appearing on your final screen, and check out the leaked information about surprising trading now. Thanks for watching this far, Habs Nation. Until the next video, go Habs!